Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vasel and Sam Healey.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel.
Zee Garcia, what's happening, folks?
Sam Healey, what's up, y'all?
So, a couple things here. I know a lot about the board gaming world, but I don't know as much about the video game world. And so recently I learned that League of Legends is the biggest video game in the world.
Yeah.
So that's pretty poor knowledge on my part, but I know this, and you need to take this video with somewhat of a caveat here, because last year, was it 2015, right? Last year, Riot Games flew me in and paid me to consult on the game we're about to talk to you about. Now, I would say that of this game, 50% of this that's in this game had been done before I showed up, and after I left, I don't know that they changed a whole lot based on what I said, although I did recommend that they change it from a competitive game to a cooperative game. That did happen. So take my word with a grain of salt, but honestly, it doesn't affect me at all. But if that bothers you, then you can probably go watch, I guess, another review.
Well, you can still listen to Sam's opinion and my own.
That's true, because these guys had never played this before. Now, this box is a huge box, but they have filled almost every inch of this.
Yep.
This is, well, you know what? I guess the best way is to show you the game. Now, I don't normally do this, but I do want to show you what's inside the box and how everything fits together, because that's really a big deal in this game. Now, what they did in this game is they have custom inserts in the game. And so these custom inserts actually come with trays with those snap-on lids. So you can see here, there's miniatures. Now, in this game, there's a lot of, basically, they're minions, and there's different models for minions. I believe there's 3 different models in total, but they're all the same thing, and each of these models has a wash on them so that stands out more, and then they fit into different spots here at the different minions, and they don't, you actually, these different molds here are made to fit all the different types of minions. It works pretty well. You also have these here, which are gems. You have 2 6-sided dice. You have 12-sided dice. These are actually metal, these rings and coins. And then this whole tray comes out, and there's another tray, and this tray underneath is just minions. So there's a whole pile of minions that are involved. And then underneath that tray, well, first of all, over here on the side, we have the 4 different heroes, and each of these heroes is fully painted. And then underneath here, we have yet another tray, and this tray has all these rule books. These are top secret. You can open these at your leisure if you want to. And then underneath here, underneath all the rules, and these, there's some more minions. Then we have the boards, we have the bomb, the timer, the different cards come underneath these boards, and so there's more boards here. And then there's this box here to the side. Now, if you don't want to see what's in this box, then skip ahead about 30 seconds. But because you can see, there's an axe coming out, okay? All right, so all those people are gone. So inside here is a big boss guy, and he will show up in some of the missions, and he has his own deck of cards, which is inside here also. Now, the game is made that you can learn and walk through it. So there's a tutorial that walks you through a starting setup and talks you through a little bit at a time, and there's a couple tutorial scenarios. And then when you're done with those, it will tell you to open up different envelopes. And so you can open up an envelope, and in that envelope are maybe some more cards that are added to one of the deck, and then there's different missions. So for example, here's mission 1, mistakes were made. It tells you what's in this mission, how to set it up, any new rules that come into play, and different things that happen during that mission. Now, this is not a legacy game. When you beat mission 1, then you would go to mission 2 and open up that envelope. But you don't have to do this. You can open up the envelopes in any order you want. These are not, when you beat it, you never play it again. You can go back and play through these. In fact, when you're done beating everything, it tells you ways to go back and play each mission and make it even harder if you want to. Missions also have an easy level if you want to go through them that way. But again, there's no, it's not really that big of a secret, but it can be if you want to. If you want to just go through the envelope slowly. I'm going to try not to spoil what's in these that much, although I might mention things that will show up later on in the missions. I apologize for that. But each mission is going to have you building a board. And so these boards, you can see there's kind of glossy ink on them. The boards have different oil slicks here. That means when you step on it, you slide all the way across. They have different glyphs on them. These are where the minions might spawn. They have these spots here, which are usually healing spots, but could be something different on each one. And so there's different types of terrain, and you're going to put these terrains together to build some sort of board that you have to go through. Usually, you're going to have this board here, although it's also a lava wall if you want to, but this is usually the school. This is where players will start. This might have something to do with the game. And this compass is put out, and sometimes you're going to need to pick a random direction, and in this case you're going to roll that 12-sided die, which has the 4 colors on, to show where the random direction or whatever might happen. Now each mission is going to be different. You're going to be taking your different mechs and you're going to be doing different actions. Maybe it will be collecting these crystals, which will be placed out on the board. Maybe it will be moving the bomb around. Maybe it will be to destroy a big bad guy. Maybe it will be to destroy a certain number of minions. And in this game, minions are going to be popping up. Usually they pop up on these different spawn points, but sometimes they might pop up here on the edge of the board. Minions will move based on the scenario. Minions are pathetic. The thing is that they will come next to your character and they might attack your character. Well, they will attack your character usually, and they can cause damage to you, but they can never really kill you. They can really be a pain in the neck. While you can kill them with all different sorts of weapons and things, you can run over them. The thing is that even though there's a lot of them to kill, even though they're not that hard to kill, there is a lot of them. And in fact, players have this board which will be set to the side of the table. And on this board, players are going to be keeping track. There's a doom tracker, sometimes to keep track of some sort of countdown in the thing, a spot to put runes when you collect them. And then up here, minion kills. So you'll kill minions and you'll place them here. When the 5th one gets here, you will add this team gear, and every time you kill 5 minions, this team gear goes up. This is going to allow you to use special abilities and to use your overdrive. Each round of the game, this timer is used. One player is going to be the start player, and that player is going to turn over cards equal to the number of players plus 1. So let's say you're playing with all 4 players, and you will put out these cards in front of everybody on the table, and then the first player is going to choose one that they're going to keep. And each player is going to choose one, but the thing is, this timer is running, and when the timer runs out, if you have not yet chosen your card, you're going to get a random card from the ones that are left over. Now, once you choose the cards, each player is going to have their command line here. And this command line is, they're going to put the card on that command line. So when they place the card, they can put it on any one of the slots of the command line. You'll notice that each of the cards has one of 4 types in the top corner. You have the lightning bolt, you have the nuts and bolt here, you have the computer chip, and you have a fire chip. When you place these down, you can place one down where there's a different symbol, and it just makes that card go away. But if you place it where there's the same symbol card, then you basically are leveling up the card that you're playing down. Once each player has placed their card, starting in turn order, each player is going to run through their command line. So the very first turn, you'll usually have 2 cards that you'll put out there. But as time goes by, you're going to have different cards in your command line, and you're going to run through those. So let's take a look, for example, at this command line. Here, for example, this is speed. It says move forward 1 to 2 spaces. So wherever my guy is on the board, I would move him 1 to 2 spaces. Crunch, crunch, and he kills that minion as he goes through it. Then I look back here at my cards, and on this one here is a ripsaw. I can kill, since this is a level 2, I can kill 2 targets in the same line at any range. So in a straight line in front of me, I can kill any targets, up to 2 of them. So I look at the board, whoo, this guy's up here in the range, boom, he's dead. And then I go down here, and I have Omni Stomp. It's level 1, so I can move 1 space forward or 2 either side. So I'm like, I'll move to the side, boom, like that. And then fuel tank here, which when I get hit, I can blow up everything in one direction, but then I must turn 90 degrees because this is a level 1. And so I'm all right, so I'll move this direction. And then next turn, I might be doing something else. Now, when you do these, obviously getting the level 1, 2s, and 3s are better. There are 12 different cards. Each of the 4 different types has 1 card that lets you move. There's 1 card that lets you turn. There's 1 card that's an attack, and then there's just, there's 3 cards for each one. And so players can upgrade them. So like this speed here, I might upgrade to chain lightning. And then Chain Lightning lets me hit a minion and then hit ones that are diagonal to that minion up to 3 times. And then later on, I might do another Chain Lightning one, which now lets me hit things up to diagonally 5 times. So the more cards you have out there, the better you will do. However, at the end of each turn, the minions are going to move and spawn, and if any minion is next to you orthogonally, they're going to do damage to you. Damage is done through a damage deck. And this deck is going to start normally at the beginning of the game, but as you go through missions, more cards might be added to it. Sometimes when you draw a damage card, you'll see this token, this symbol at the top. That means that I need to roll a 6-sided die, and it's going to go into my command line. So I roll the 6-sided die. Here it goes into command line spot 5. There's something there. Now I rotate left 90 degrees. That will always happen until I repair it. Sometimes they will have a one-shot ability. For example, here, this basically says reorder your command line, swaps slots 5 and 6. So if I got that one, I would put this one here. There's nothing in 6, and it goes there. But sometimes that can be bad. So there's all sorts of different ones here that are going to just move one space to the right. And these will mess you up. Not only will they mess you up, but they'll get rid of any cards that are there. Occasionally, they'll help you. So you're going to be drawing damage, and you're going to want to heal damage. And there's different ways you can do that. You can move onto the board, onto a spot that lets you heal damage. But you can also, when you are drafting cards at the beginning of each round, you can take the 2 different types of cards, the fire and the bolt. At the bottom it says you can scrap this to repair damage. Both of those say the same thing on the bottom of them. The other 2 types, the computer chip and the lightning bolt, you can, instead of putting these, you can scrap them to switch 2 lines, two sections of your command line. So those are things that players can do, but there's even more than that. As the game goes by, you are going to find different cards that you have that you're going to be able to stick to the side of your board. These are special abilities that you have, and you'll get 2 of these. So as you won't have them at the beginning of the game, but as you go through each mission, you get more and more of these. And when your gear for all the players gets to whatever number it shows on the card, so 5, 8, 4, 2, you will flip that over, and it gives you a special ability. Here's a rocket jump. Sometimes it's a one-time use special ability. Sometimes it's something that stays in play all the time. And each of these is different for the different characters. So as the game goes by, the 4 different characters are going to be more differentiated from each other. Also, each player has an overdrive ability. That's when the gear gets to 15. That's an amazing thing. So for example, this one here says before you execute your command line, you can do 1 damage to any target within 2 range. So boom, hit somebody and then he moves. This guy's overdrive here is he can repair 1 damage from his mech. This guy here, before you execute your command line, you can move to an adjacent space without changing your facing. Before you execute your command line, you may first swap any 2 undamaged slots. These overdrive things are awesome, but you got to kill 60 enemies before you get to them. Other than that, that's kind of the way the game works. You are then going to try to accomplish your mission, whatever that might be. Like I said, it might be moving something, it might be picking things up. You can push other mechs, you can tow other mechs, you can shoot things. You'll run into a bad guy who also has a command line who will be using that against you, and you will either altogether win as a group or lose as a group. Now, if you want to get this game, it's not going to be through just regular distribution channels. This is a game that is... it's going to be available through mechsandminions.com, and they told me it's $75 plus shipping.
Say what?
And right there, I have to say that I'm mind-boggled at that price.
Yeah.
So I think they said it's like $8 in America for shipping. That's an $83 game. This game feels like the deluxe version of a Kickstarter game.
Yeah.
Easy.
I was just telling these guys I cannot emphasize how much I'm impressed with how well the game packs together.
Right.
They got those custom trays, which are amazing. The painted miniatures, the painted boss figure, the fact that they washed all those other minions, the card, the artwork. I mean, I know they have a lot of assets at Riot Games to do all this stuff, but this game is a very high production level, and if I was ranking this at 100 points, production, I have to give it 100. I really do.
Really?
I can't think of anything and for the price point.
And that's what everybody's getting. This isn't like a deluxe version of the game.
Right.
Everybody is going to get what you just saw for $75.
If you asked me if you told me this is a game that is made by a company that makes a video game, I don't know if I believe you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if you asked me what it would be like if a company that makes video games made a board game. Because this is so, this could be from a professional board game company. And
They
these
did
guys
their
are
homework,
not
right?
that. They're a video game company, but they cut no corners here. The artwork is amazing, like you said. The entire package is really, really well done. Unbelievably well done.
Now, some people are going to look at this game and look at it and say all those miniatures. And in fact, when the spoiler pictures of this went up last week, I saw people talking about, oh, it's a Marathrash game and such. But it's really not. It's a straight up cooperative game with programming. That's what it is.
Yes.
So you hate programming.
Yes.
So we'll start with you. What do you think about the programming in this game?
I hate programming, but I love cooperation. So the fact that it is a cooperative programming game actually overshadows how much I dislike the programming aspect of it. Because the reason I don't like programming in those games that I don't like it's because it's a competitive game. And you're trying to mess other people up. Or if you mess somebody else up, it doesn't really bother you that much. It's like, ha ha ha, but I got to do what I wanted to do. In this one, if you mess somebody up, it hurts you and the rest of the team. So you don't want to mess other people up. So you're programming your movement and everything in such a way that you don't mess up other people. And if it just happens that way, you know that they didn't do it on purpose.
Well, you also have in this game, first of all, you cannot hurt each other, right?
Yeah.
You can't shoot each other by mistake.
Right, no friendly
And
fire.
you can talk to one another in the game and say, hey, I'm going to bump you.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Right.
Is that beneficial?
Yeah.
You're okay if I do it? And I like that. As you're saying, it takes the things that could be seen as negatives in programming games and almost makes them an asset of cooperation.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. And I can't think of another cooperative game whose main mechanism is programming. I can't think of one that is all around this, Robo Rally style. I'm going to
Space Alert.
That's real time too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
It's a very different thing.
That one I haven't played. But Space Alert, I think, is one of those where you do the whole thing and then just watch it happen, isn't
That's correct, yeah.
This one is much more, you get in there and you can change cards out, you can sort of manipulate it all,
Right.
and then you just see it happen each round, I would say my only very small negative here is that sometimes I felt like once I set the program, I had a hard time sort of ripping it apart again. My little dude just kept going. I was like, stop, I want you to not, I want to stop this, but overall, the game has a really unique feel when it comes to co-ops.
Well, you mentioned the real time in the other game. This game has a timer. What did you guys think about the timer when picking the cards?
It did not feel as oppressive, I think, as...
I think it's a longer timer than you actually need before it starts becoming oppressive.
Right.
Because
I think it's
they
a
give
good
you
way to
plenty
keep
of
the
time,
game moving.
But it's one of those things where you can still kind of take your time, but you know that it is ticking.
Sure.
And I never felt crunched. I remember getting yelled at once. But
Well, I think it's because everyone saw the time running out. Right?
I'm just saying, but it was like, and I was like, yeah, I'm taking this one. Okay, bop, bop, bop. So, I mean, it's like we had plenty of time, but...
No, I think it just helps the turns move on, really.
Well, I think
that cooperation
It stops
comes to
the
a front.
alpha gamer from saying, okay, everyone
Exactly.
stop. I'll figure out the best cards for everybody.
Right.
They don't have time to do that. We all just grab a card. And then, I mean, it's not so bad. You can then slowly pick where you put that card on your thing.
Right.
And that's, to me, I think the coolest thing about this programming thing. And when they first showed it to me last year, I was like, wow. It was neat that you can stack the cards and they get better.
Yes.
And you don't have to do forward planning. You just stack a card and then like, ooh, if I put this card in this stack, it becomes a level 3 of this. That's really neat.
Yeah.
However, if I put 3 cards in the same stack, I'm probably doing fewer things because I don't have them spread out as much.
But those things are more impactful.
That can be useful so that later on, as I said, you have an easier way to change what happens.
Right.
Because if you have 5 steps programmed and you've changed the 4th, everything else might be too much for you to really, really get what you want. Yeah. But if you're only doing like 3 really strong things and you change one of them, that's a big deal.
I like how how each robot kind of has its own like variable power after you work through your your program a little bit over a certain amount of turns. I mean, you'll have people that are kind of differentiating themselves from the other mechs because one will turn into like a lawnmower where they're just taking out everything in their path. And then you have other guys that are like moving around really fast and getting the objectives and pulling it around and that type of thing. And I like how that kind of naturally, they just kind of naturally differentiate themselves from each other. I really
and
like
it can
that.
lead to really fun moments also, or comedic moments where you'll program something and then you can make fun of your guy just sort of going forward and turning around and going back, turning around and going forward. And so the whole experience really brings to the forefront that mech idea where you're in this machine that's going, come on, I want to stop spinning around,
Yeah, but you
like
also,
that.
what I really like about this game is I'm a big fan of games where the minions are weak, but there's waves of them.
Yeah.
And so there are moments where you're like, when you do like, I just killed 10 guys in one turn?
Yeah.
Ha, 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 and you feel great.
Yeah.
And it happens often in a game.
But now we're back.
Right, and then more come in, you're like, oh man, here we go. But I think that's fun. I like the overwhelming waves, and it never feels like, oh, we can't do this, because you can.
Right.
But I think the level of difficulty of the game is good, and they also have ways to adjust it, to make it harder or more or easier. And I felt like it gave us a good enough challenge.
Yeah.
Where we were sitting there saying, okay, how do we beat this thing? How do we do this scenario? And the scenarios also felt different.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a point in the game where I was like, how are we supposed to win this? They just keep coming and coming and coming. But then after a few turns of getting our program settled, I was like, oh, we got this. We got this.
When you keep getting stronger throughout the game, which I like.
Right. But then there was another part where it was like, ooh. So there was this like ebb and flow of confidence versus, oh, we're going to die, And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, now this game is stylized. They don't call it a legacy game, but there's that whole, hey, you can go through the scenarios, you open an envelope, you discover new things, and you can do that, but you don't have to either. This is a game, and if you want to, when you get it, you can open everything up. Right. And I don't think you're losing it. I would recommend playing through the tutorial just to figure out how the game works. It's a nice way to learn the game, or though at least starting to play the tutorial, and you can go, oh, that's how it works, and go to mission 1.
Yeah.
But you can open up everything and play all the different missions, and I played several of the missions. Now I could go back and play mission 1, for example, and be totally content. It's like playing 10. It's like having 10 games in the same box to some degree.
Right.
And I think that works well. I like that you can go back. I liked how at the end of the game they make them harder if you want to. Like, oh, you had 3 life to do this mission. Now you have 1. And that's interesting to me. Overall, this game has just really is. It's one of my favorite games of this year. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It hits on a lot of spots. Obviously, the components are A+, but the gameplay itself is fast. We're talking hour-long games, maybe slightly longer, maybe slightly faster, depending on how much you finish it. Easy to set up. The program aspect is something I like. The fact that you just walk through and you feel like Mega Man destroying the minions that just keep coming in. I like that. I like the special abilities that differentiate your mech from the other players, and as you go through each mission, you have more and more of those to pick from. This one gets 2 mech thumbs up, way up. Certainly one of the best games of the year for me.
I'm definitely. I don't know if I'm as enamored with you, but it still is going to hit as you are. With the game.
It's okay.
But I'm still going to give it 2 thumbs up because I do think it is. I mean, the price point alone, all this stuff that you're getting for $75.
Right.
I mean, that is an amazing price point that I think is going to turn a lot of heads in the industry and say, how were they able to do this? And I mean, I know they're a big company and they've got a lot of resources at their disposal.
Sure, yeah.
But I think it's really going to turn a lot of heads, and they're going to become this almost, I won't say icon, but I think this will become something that people look at and say, this was able to be done for $75.
Yeah, I know.
Show me.
Well, I don't know if that's... I got to be careful not to hold other companies up to the standard.
No, I know
Riot does
that.
have more money than many other companies.
I understand that. But still, it can be done.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. So I'm going to give this 2 mech thumbs up that have minions impaled on them.
That's disgusting.
But it actually is in the game one of the cards. if you have a mech impaled, if you have a minion impaled, and then you take damage, you can have the minion get hit for you instead.
I think it's important to reiterate that I, for one, and I think pretty much all of us, don't really know much about the theme this is based on, the game, League of Legends. I've heard of it, clearly, but
Absolutely
no
zero.
investment at all in it. I don't know anything about it, never played it.
Right.
And that doesn't matter one bit.
Not at
Did
all.
not matter at all. And it is very clear how much care and love went into making this. It's evident with every part of it, every bit, the insert in this game is better than some other game's components, than many other games' components. And that's
That's true.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's important, I think, to mention, price and everything notwithstanding. So, yeah, I was impressed. I'm a big fan of co-op games. I like programming just fine. But this game does it really, really well. That programming is solid. And as I said, it's something that gets folded into the cooperation in a very nice way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also going to give it 2, you know what, you guys keep going with the mechs. I'm going to give it 2 minions up. They will soon be dead, but I will give them 2 minions up.
Right. Now, I've learned a little bit more about League of Legends. This game is not like League of Legends. It uses some of the same characters. But like he said, I know that the guys who made this are diehard board gamers. They put a lot of... This is a good game. It's not just a pretty game. It's a solid game. Definitely check it out. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
Zee Garcia, thank you, folks.
Sam Healey, see you on the flip side.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.